Association with the gaming stadium. We have a fantastic lineup of streams from 14 different schools all across Edmonton, here to bring you some true local League of Legends gameplay. I'm John the Batman Hat, and I'm here to bring you some play-by-play casting today, and I'm joined by a fantastic student volunteer, and I'll allow them to introduce himself real quickly.
Hello everyone, I'm Swanner. I'll be the color caster for today, and I'm so excited to be part of this tournament and to see all of these teams play. Something that I wanted to know is that when I watched pro play before, I was always thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if we could have something like this at a high school level? And today, here we are.
Yeah, I admit this is something I'm incredibly jealous at as a now fourth-year university student. I wish I had this in high school. Looking at some of the average ranks around in the teams too, I might have actually been able to play. Back in my day, I wasn't complete garbage, but here we are, a washed up fourth-year university player that doesn't know how to play the game anymore. But hey, I can talk fast into a microphone, and that's what matters today. So we are just currently witnessing just a couple delays. We had some students who aren't in the Discord quite currently, so we're just delayed on that match. But our first match coming up will be amiskwaciy. So I'm sorry if I butchered that, versus Londonderry 2. But we're just waiting for a little bit to get the players in there. So anyways, Swanner, if you want to talk a little bit about, maybe just tell them about your team, if you know anything about them from your school.
My school, I go to Osborne, and I know that we have a very big League of Legends community there. And when, I guess, this tournament, the sign-up for it started, there were a lot of people interested, so that was really cool to see. For my team specifically, I know that we have 2 teams participating, and from what I can tell, I'm pretty confident that they do have the ability to win, but to see how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure, and that's fair to hear. I'm kind of curious to see, throughout the tournament and stuff like that, just how much these teams are emulating, say, pro play and stuff like that with their picks, or more maybe we're going to see a local meta kind of develop throughout the tournament as people kind of figure out what people's pocket picks are with their comfort picks and just different stuff like that. Because obviously, I'm gonna be honest here, guys. We got maybe Masters and Diamonds are kind of the highest ranks we got coming in this tournament, so you're going to see some bangers of matches, and probably for different reasons than you're used to from pro play, but they should be extremely entertaining. And as we said earlier, it's really cool to just be able to feature kids and stuff like that in this really healthy environment of just being able to compete in a video game tournament. The kids are playing video games on the side anyway, so it's really cool the schools are reaching out and giving them an opportunity to play in a more structured setting and have something to drive towards. Because playing in a team is so awesome. Actually, to go into a little rant about my own personal esports experience, I ran a sorry about that, an Overwatch team, just a little amateur one. We were probably tier 3 at the most, and we played a lot of different stuff like that. But I ran that for about 2 years, and it is such an interesting experience to have. Now, I started this when I was in first year university, so we are a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, but there's just the amount of team bonding you get and stuff like that. You learn to interact in different social situations you never have to deal with. You have to learn important aspects of life, such as teamwork, how to work with different people, work around people's flaws and pros, and also just how to take something and just focus on it and just understand how to get better at it as you go. And you have people that are doing the exact same thing around you. So it's such a nice setting to be in, especially when you have a nice healthy team that are all focused on improving.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping we can go from this and grow it into something even more, because maybe these leagues stay around year long and they have esports clubs and stuff like that. I would love to see where this can go.
Yeah, definitely. And something that's kind of interesting is how the scene has been growing throughout throughout these years. I remember in 2015 or 2016, there was not a lot of people were talking about it, but now we have we have tournaments at high school levels, and like I said, the scene has been growing just ever since.
Yeah, and it's been really nice to see too, and it's actually across quite a few games as well, because we have kind of big people jumping up here. We have the gaming stadium, the Alberta Esports Association, and now Edmonton Public Schools kind of dipping their toes in, and you've seen they've been getting into stuff and even some of the universities and colleges around here as well have been getting their feet into FIFA. System. Yeah, the collegiate system are getting their feet into FIFA, some of the more sports games, but also League of Legends. Fighting games are doing pretty well, particularly Smash in the Edmonton region. We have really, really big locals and tournaments have been putting on by ASA, and actually some of the collegiate stuff is getting involved with that, if I remember correctly. So there's actually been a lot of esports growth in Alberta. Oh, and actually one other one I completely forgot is also the Memex Esports as well. They're not part of this event at all, but they're another element that's working under Memory Express to bring esports to Alberta and hopefully spread it across Canada, much like the Alberta Esports Association is trying to bring esports into Alberta. And a gaming stadium has been around for quite a long time, holding things down in BC, and has been kind of branching out into different provinces as well. So there's like some big parties in here. And with the right support and the right direction, I think we can get some esports going in Canada, which is something I never imagined possible as a kid. So it's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, when I was younger, I would always be excited to watch some of the pro play and such like that. But then there was nothing that me as a student that I could participate in, and having these opportunities come up like again and again through these tournaments held by ASA and such, it's just exciting to see.
Yeah, definitely. It just gives you something to go towards too. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
there's always been a lot of support for traditional sports and stuff like that, which I'm totally for. But for the kids who like playing like video games or esports and just preferred that kind of entertainment, there was never really an outlet for them to like sit down and improve and stuff like that outside of just, playing with your friends on the weekends and stuff like that. So having something a little bit more structured like this. And also I'm going to give you guys a just quick update on the game. It looks like we have finally gotten everybody in the lobby. So we should be able to get underway as soon as we get everything sorted, get the game going, make sure everybody's comfortable. So delay should only be a little bit longer, and then we'll be able to get right into game. Well, yeah, anyway, back to our point, just discussing esports and stuff like that. So where do you think though it can grow to on like the high school scene? Like what do you want to see? Just give me your like ideal future. It can obviously be kind of just dreaming a bit, but just paint a picture.
I kind of want to see like just esports being taken as seriously as some of the other sports, some of the other physical sports that high schools offer. So maybe something like basketball or volleyball as well. And me personally, I've always been kind of made fun of for watching esports and stuff like that. But just to have it be level as some of the other sports, it would just be a dream of mine to see that happen.
No, I feel the exact same way. Back when I was in high school and junior high, yeah, I just used to watch like League of Legends tournaments, Overwatch particularly when I was really deep into that, and a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, you couldn't really ever talk to them with your friend. I actually remember I had some icebreakers I went to at university because I was that lonely nerd coming out of high school. So you go to week of welcome and they're like, hey, and you go to the icebreakers and they're like, oh, everybody get in your group of your favorite sport and try and defend it. So I got in together with my group and we were like, oh, we like esports. And I said a line, something along the lines of, yeah, actually these guys put in like a ton of practice. Cause if you actually look at like pro players, they play like solo queue and stuff like that for about hours. So, well, I'm going to wrap up that point real quickly, but I basically got laughed at for bringing it up. But more importantly, we are ready. We're going into Champion Select and let's get started with our first game of the League of Legends Edmonton Public Schools Spring Tournament. Just while we're loading in, Swainer, I'll ask you a few things. What are some of the big picks you think are going to come out in these games? Like, just what's OP right now? What's super strong in the meta? Just even in pro play or just in general? What champions do we need to look out for?
Something that I've been keen on is kind of the engaged supports and also the ability of junglers to follow up on that. So something like an Alistar or a Rel, those champions have very strong engage you could just press a button and your team can also just follow along with that. Also on top of that, control mages are also very strong as well.
Yeah, there's some good points too. And actually, just unfortunately, a quick update on there. It looks like one of the players on one of the teams unfortunately has to go, so we're just quickly getting a sub in. So unfortunately, we do have more delays. Sorry about that, everyone. A little bit of a shaky start here, but we will get it sorted and then bring you some League of Legends as soon as we can. Now, I know you were kind of talking about those control mages and engaged support. So you brought us some examples, but what kind of control mages do you think are dominating the meta right now? Like, which are outperforming their peers?
Things I've seen very often are the Orianna and the Syndra. Both of these champions, they do have do have pretty good crowd control as well. So Syndra with her Scatter the Weak stun, it can be an engage and a disengage at the same time. Along with Orianna, her Shockwave, it can turn team fights with just the snap of a finger.
Yeah, definitely some good points to bring up. Well, it looks like we are getting started as soon as we can here. Both teams appear to be ready, and as soon as our Spectre and stuff like that are able to start the game, we'll get going. Thank you all for bearing with us during the delays, and then we'll get into champion select, and hopefully Swainer can bring us even better insight on what champions you think is going to come out here. We do have a little bit of stats. Our observer gracefully went and looked up all the teams beforehand, so we might be able to give you guys a little bit more insight, just based on a purely statistical end. So there is a small chance it could be wrong.
Yeah, some of the champions that come up, like again, are the engaged supports and stuff. So another champion that has come up is Leona, and she's just this tank. Again, you just go in, you deal as much crowd control as possible, and hopefully your team has the follow up to win you a team fight.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was just quickly reading the chat. So
all good.
It looks like we might have another delay on our hands. It looks like some of the people are using some of them sweet Smurf accounts, Smile, so it looks like they don't have enough champions. So looks like they may have to switch over to their main and stop being undesirable, as I will put lightly. But yeah, no, I think it's good to bring up like engaged supports, because Leona is particularly, I think, at the level we're going to see at this tournament, it's just so strong, because outside of her W, she just gets so many free stats. She can have like one item be as tanky as like a one item top laner who's got farm and everything like that, and she's just sitting there chilling with her W on, just tanking her entire team's damage. So
you don't even need, like during the laning phase, you don't really even need some of the items. If you get level 3 on Leona, you just go in.
Yeah, you just go, and like her level 2 is ridiculous. It's so strong. Yeah. I think there's very few supports that can match it, and most of the time the supports that can quote unquote match it are more of just like repelling her level 2. They're not matching it, they're just stopping her from being able to do what she wants. Yeah,
just like disengage, get away from me, that type of feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes like a good example, I think, is even like the Rel into that lane. Now, I think Leona's a little bit favored in that, even though Rel can break shields and stuff, in the fact that Rel can just, kind of get between her, stun Leona, and then you both just get the heck out of there.
Yeah, one thing to know is that I'm pretty sure Rel, she can steal some of your armor and magic resist as well. So that Rel can be very beneficial in those situations. That's true.
Yeah, that is a good point, because, once, particularly... All right, sounds good. Okay, we got an update here. Unfortunately, because of the limited champions, we're gonna remake the first tournament as blind pick. So a little bit of some scuff League of Legends. But hey, guys, what do you expect out of North America?
Yeah, North America, the esports scene, there is potential to grow.
Yeah, even like we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and just while we're waiting, talk a little bit about the pro scene. Just so I know there are some new viewers in the chat that might not completely get that joke. There's pretty much the League of Legends pro scene is split up into like kind of 4 main regions. There's some side regions, but there's a Chinese league, the Korean league, the European league, and the North American league. And just basically to say the North American league has not done good at the World Championships in, I don't think, its entire existence. And most of the players in the North American League are imports.
True. I think it's like over 50% are imports or something like that. And the last time that North America, I guess, performed decent at a World Championship was in 2018. So by the end of this year, only 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And they just keep progressively getting good players from other teams. People like to jokingly call NA the high-paying retirement home.
Yeah.
a lot of what we'll do is these teams, because the NA League, unlike the others, is actually, I think, more based around entertainment. Like, they want to put on a show. The branding is a little bit more aggressive in the team. So, to be honest, they got a little bit more money to throw around than some of the other leagues. So what they'll do is they'll just buy out pro players from other teams, bring them over to their team. And it's like, we got this guy. A great example is a player called Perks. He's like an EU legend. He's been on a team. I think he's on there for like, G2 for like six years or something like that.
2016 or 2015, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So he's been there for years. And like Cloud9, which is one of the big NA organizations, just like, hey, I want that. It just swooped him up and paid him a ton of money. Like, I don't even remember how much the contract is off the top of my head, but they bought out the contract from G2, much like traditional sports, which you guys probably used to with stuff like hockey. And then they paid him a ridiculous amount of money. And then he proceeded to feed his first game. But you know what? In his defense, he was trying to make plays while his team was really behind. So.
That Yone game was small for men.
It was a spectacle. It was something great to watch.
What's that? Sorry. Before
no,
that
feel
game,
free.
I think he tweeted that he would go deathless in that tournament as well, and then proceeds to die 3 or 4 times.
Just proceeds to die right off the bat.
Yeah. Another import that's kind of interesting is also Sword Art. It came over from the LPL, the Chinese region, and TSM. Similar to Perks, TSM is another North American organization. They were just like, I want Sword Art. $6 million, come over here.
Here, have some money. But actually, you know what? Just because we are still waiting on delays and stuff here, and particularly because I think we may have some newer viewers in the chat with it being like an Edmonton Public Schools event, I think it might actually be good to just talk about the game in general, because there's going to be. I've never watched a game of League of Legends in their life, and that is completely fine. But I think it might be good to break down, like, just make like a little viewer's guide of what to expect coming from this game. So if like you're getting into thing, you're gonna be super overwhelmed. So maybe do you want to break down chat kind of like what we're doing right now? We're in champ select, and then like what kind of comes after that, and what's the start of the game look like?
So the start of the game, it's kind of going to be all about lane priority and such like that, because that will open up your jungler to be able to kind of roam around the map and kind of get the objectives such as Dragon or Rift Herald in the early game. And that is going to put your team at an advantage going throughout the game.
Well, even on actually like even a more basic level, I know like pretty obvious like you and me and some of the players, but like where do the champions play? What positions are there? Just kind of break down what the basics of it, because we're going to be dropping keywords like jungler, top lane, or stuff like that. And there's going to be a lot of people in chat that maybe haven't seen this before or heard this. So just maybe give like a little basic breakdown of some of the stuff that, yeah, you and I may take for granted, but a newer viewer might not be as familiar with.
All right. So in League of Legends, it's played on typically played on a map called Summoner's Rift, and there are 3 lanes: top lane, mid lane, and bottom lane, sometimes just abbreviated as top, mid, bot. And in between these lanes, on both sides, there's this kind of shadowy area called the jungle, where jungle camps are there, and this is where the jungler would go. So they would clear. So instead of playing against another lane opponent, they'll be kind of farming in the jungle, getting these items, and then eventually ganking or just heading on over to the side to the lanes to try and get lane advantages. And typically in the top lane, you'll probably see a bruiser type or a tank. Mid lane, sometimes, as I mentioned, are going to be for the control mages, possibly even assassins. And then bottom lane usually has two champions playing. So it's going to be the support and an AD carry, an attack damage carry. And this is a guy who is going to be on the back line, just trying to deal as much damage as they can. And the support, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be trying to go for these engages, or possibly even just protecting your team in general.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful breakdown too. Just for anybody that's not in there, so just to quickly reiterate for everybody, there's just 3 lanes, as you can kind of actually see on the map we're looking at right now. The top lane's obviously up in the top, mid lane straight in the middle, and the bottom lane's just right in the bottom there. And then you're usually gonna have a jungler kind of just roaming around in the forested area. You can see just looking to try and impact these lanes in different ways. But also another key thing to notice too is there's actually like neutral objectives, they're called, on the map. So if you see those 2 giant divots kind of in the middle of the river, on the bottom one there's a thing that spawns called a dragon or a drake, whatever people prefer to say, and there's different elemental types, and basically all these do is when you take them you get a buff, and then when you get 4 of them you get an even stronger buff. And basically the 2 teams are going to be competing in most cases to try and get to the 4 drakes first so they can get that big buff. So you're going to see a lot of fights around this objective because it spawns like I can't remember exactly when it's 5 minutes into the game. So it spawns very early. So there's a lot of priority on it. And up in the top divot during the first, I think it's 20 minutes of the game, there's a thing that spawns called a Rift Herald. And that's another big objective that you want to take. And what happens when you get Rift Herald is you actually drop it in a lane and it charges at the turret and just does a ton of damage to it. So actually that's one thing I actually didn't mention as well that you can't see in this map here. There's actually turrets laid across the map. So there's 2 in each lane, and then 1 sitting in the base, and then 2 right in front of that crystal thing you see there. We'll break it down a little bit more when we get to the actual map, but you're looking to just take those and slowly get towards the base. So I guess actually that brings me to the most crucial point of League of Legends. How do you win? You see that big crystal on there? There's another one at the bottom side of the map. You got to destroy that. It's as simple as it is. You push up these towers that are sitting in the lanes, walk up to the crystal and destroy it, and then your team is victorious. Obviously, a little easier said than done, but so that's back to my point on Rift Herald up in the top lane, up in the top divot. You want to destroy that, and after 20 minutes, there's this big snaky worm man that spawns called Baron Nashor, and that one's one of the big objectives to take in this game because when you take it, it buffs up all your little lane minions and makes pushing down the lanes a lot easier. So I know this is a ton of information to drop on you guys right at the beginning, but we'll be spoon feeding it to you during the game as well and just pointing this stuff out. So just if you were paying attention, you remember all that, good on you. And we're going to make sure we reward you by pointing it out in the game so you can feel smart. But anyway, with the spectator delay over, we are finally getting into match, and then we can break down these team comps a little bit for you as soon as we get loaded in.
Something that you forgot mentioning is Elder Dragon, which spawns after a team is able to take four dragons. And Elder Dragon, it also gives you a massive buff like Baron Nashor. So it gives you this execute as well as more damage, I believe.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. I think it gives you just a raw stat boost, and then you get to execute someone below a certain threshold.
Yeah, you get to see dragons flying across the screen. It is pretty
epic. All right, and these comps are, I'm not gonna lie, our left-hand side looking pretty good, but the right-hand side, I'm not sure everybody's playing. So do you want to maybe break down for chat and stuff like that, like what each team is going to be focusing on and trying to play around?
All right, there are just some interesting picks I do want to point out before is the misfortune support and kind of the top lane situation that blue side has right now. But one thing that is going to be interesting is to see if this Yasuo in the mid lane can. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's. Yeah, I don't really know how to break this down, but I think our Master E is kind of getting a free kill off the start there. Maybe he pressed on the map and kind of AFK'd from the keyboard and kind of walked down there. I can't really explain that. Let's just say that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, on the side of blue, on blue team, it's more of the typical team composition that you might see. So in the top lane, Udyr's typically played in the jungle, but all you need to know is that he can run fast and he can run fast and just stun you and zip out of the fight.
And also, I'm just going to quickly check with our observers. Which school is on which side of this? All right, thank you, observers, for informing me which team's on each side. So, yeah, we're seeing a pretty atypical thing. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the overlay was up. So amiskwaciy, I'm going to keep butchering this. I apologize, chat. amiskwaciy is on the red side of the team. You can just clearly see by the red health bars above them. And Londonderry 2 is on the blue side here. So just to break down why we're kind of like curious of what amiskwaciy is doing is... Traditionally in this game, there's a meta, quote unquote. So what happens is you have one person in the mid lane, you have one person up top lane, two in the bottom lane, and usually one roaming around jungle. But amiskwaciy doesn't care about that. So they have two up in the top lane, two in the mid lane, and then one sitting down bottom, while Londonderry's went for the little bit more of the traditional push here. Now, a big problem you run into with running multiple people in one lane, as you can see, there's a little number above all the characters. That's their level, which lets them upgrade their abilities. So by killing these little minions that are around you, you get gold, but you also get experience. And this experience lets you level up, but it's split between everybody in the lane. So when you have two people in a lane, you level up significantly slower. Like mid lane is a great example of this. You see that both of them are, but the Yasuo is also almost at level 3, and he's probably even pretty close to level 4 already. So you put yourself really behind in level, and it's just not quite worth doing it unless the other lane is doing it as well. And also you completely lose all the experience gained from the jungler when you choose not to go with the jungler.
Also, something worth noting, amiskwaciy, I don't think any of them bought items.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought the bugged.
I don't know. I don't know if it is bugged, but that's what I see.
Yeah, and I mean they're a very new team, and it's fine. It's an apology if it sounds like we're flaming them at all. It's perfectly fine. It's actually cool to see them getting into this and showing interest in the game. So I mean, the only thing is they can easily grow from here. They can go back, look at the tournament, and learn like new strategies and stuff like this. But it looks like we got an early gank coming on to mid lane. We got the bot lane coming up. The Morgana locks down the Ezreal with the Dark Binding, and it's Tristana just laying down damage into the Ezreal. Slowly gets out, but I think he's going to die to the igniting the explosion, and that's Ezreal going down, and the Veigar's running away, has absolutely no mana, and it's the Master Yi is slowly coming to clean up these kills. But yeah, actually, I think this does give us a moment to talk about just kind of items and stuff like that. So, Swainer, if you actually want to break down just kind of like what are items? What do you do with them in this game?
So items are something that you buy with gold, which you can get from either killing turrets, killing champions, or just even killing the minions, last hitting the minions that you see in the lane. And with this gold, you buy the items which give you stat boosts. So. And someone's on a killing spree.
I missed that kill down in the bottom lane, but feel free to continue your point. Actually, quickly, we're going to have a gank up here into the top lane. There's no time to talk. It's only time for silver scrapes. And we got the Master E hitting down onto the Zed, and unfortunately the Zed will fall. But luckily, Heimerdinger managing to keep himself alive up in the top lane. It looks like we have Veigar rotating up there to give our mans some support.
Back onto the items. So some of these items, depending on what kind of champion you're playing, you either will want to buy.
I know you wanted to make a point, but we got another fight in the mid lane, and this is the Yi coming down in the mid lane, and this is kind of the importance of the jungler of what we were talking about earlier. The jungler just allows you to walk in these lanes, gank them, and you just have so much presence around the map. And as you've seen, it's just paying off greatly for them. But feel free to continue your point on the items there.
Yeah, so you can see kind of that some champions will want to buy a version of items. So ability power champions will want to buy items that boost their ability power because that's how they scale. While attack damage champions...
We got a little fight down here on the bottom lane, and I mean, that goes as much as you want, but actually that actually allows me to quickly transition into another point. So a big thing when you're fighting in lanes and stuff like that is you actually see little minions around you. In the early game, they actually do a ton of damage. So as much as the misfortune wasn't auto-attacking or just attacking the Tristana at all, the Tristana took a ton of damage from minions, as you saw there. Like, it almost took away roughly like a quarter of their health. So you got to be very careful about fighting in these lanes and just understanding what state they're in when you want to take a fight. But back to you, Signer. Let's see if we can finish that point before another fight breaks out.
Yeah, so back onto the point. If you're an attack damage champion, such as the Tristana that we just saw in the bot lane, you're going to be wanting to buy items that boost your attack damage or maybe even crit chance. So you can see the blue item that she already bought, Noon Quiver. That will give her more crit chance as well as more attack damage, and for her to be able to kind of kill these champions quicker, and another Dark Binding hits.
Yep, another Dark Binding.
Oh, wow.
And that is just quickly. So in case any of you don't actually know what's happening with that little Tristana bomb that she throws on her. So when Tristana, her E ability, which is just the button you press on your keyboard, you throw that on top of her, you auto attack them up to 4 times to slowly kill that charge up. And the 4th auto, I think it is, will explode it, just doing a ton of damage, but it also will tick down over time and blow up. So she has a ton of what's called burst damage, which, as the name describes, you do a ton of damage in a small amount of time.
Also, something else to know is that it can also work on turrets as well. And
you're trying to make points, but we're too busy. We're trying to fight. The Yi is trying to smack people with his sword, and that is more kills going down onto the Yi and the big man Udyr in the top lane.
Honestly, you also have on these turrets, if you see the kind of the tick marks, those are things called turret plates, and once you destroy one, you get 160 gold. But each one that you destroy, the resistances of the turret builds up, so it gets harder to destroy as you kind of beat at it. And you can see this Udyr in the top lane. He just destroyed a turret plate and got some gold for it.
Yeah, and actually, I think it transitions into the Rift Herald, which is actually spawned, if you guys can see in the kind of on the river there, just in that top little pit with that purple logo up above it. That one, when you grab it, will actually charge into the tower. But a big thing in this meta is it will destroy turret plates. I think it takes roughly 3 in a charge. So what you want to do is you want to take down the early plates, like roughly the 5th and the 4th plate, just because they're the easiest to take, and then you actually just send the Rift Herald at it, and it'll just take a bunch of plates for free, and it gives the gold directly to whoever dropped it, and anybody anybody who's around it. So a big advantage of that is you can snowball lanes a lot earlier, because usually it's supposed to be very difficult to destroy that last plate. But Rift Herald kind of mitigates that problem and just gives you so much damage for free. So that's why you will see in a lot of contention, particularly in comps that do want to go in there. We got the Yasuo ulting on top of the Ezreal. I don't think he's quite going to get this kill. Oh, but he manages to hit the Q onto the tower and doesn't die to the tower, and Triumph keeps him alive in the Ignite, just securing the kill there. Definitely not how I thought that was going to go. We got the 3-man top, and our man Udyr is just farming down up here, just not having a good time, but he's near mind. It looks like he's kind of having a blast here. I'm not going to lie.
You can also see with the turrets, they can deal a lot of damage. Like if you saw the Yasuo, a couple of turret shots, if he took one more turret shot, he would have probably died. And more fighting in the bot lane.
More fighting in the bot lane. Super iconic to go with this game. And Tristana just barely not being able to kill off the explosion there. And he heals to keep himself up. I respect that energy.
Not giving up in this bot lane. Yep.
Yeah, there's no give up on the side of amiskwaciy here.
5-year-old kid is trying to catch this Heimerdinger.
He's smacking him. So, but Heimerdinger got those turrets down. Not something you want to run after. Maybe that $5 bill, not enough to pay off those turrets to not shoot him.
Yeah, back to the Rift Herald point. Never mind.
No, you tried, but no, we got more fights in the top lane. A big stun coming down from the Udyr. Oh, and he hits the max range tornado from the Yasuo, and that's Heimer falling under the blade of the edgy weeb guy.
Yeah, that's one way to describe Yasuo. And it looks like that he's going to be moving back to this mid lane, walking past this Rift Herald again. And you can see, yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah, we got another fight coming in. No. And it looks like Yasuo is just going to pick up another fairly free kill here onto the Ezreal. A big thing, actually, that we can now point on to as well is actually this thing called vision in this game. Which, there's another kill in the bottom lane, but Zed's going in, trying to trade back. His ult is ticking down, but doesn't quite get the kill. But manages to put quite a fair amount of damage onto the Morgana before falling. Quite an admirable effort down in the bot lane from Zed. But actually, anyway, back to my point on there's a thing called vision in this game. So you can see in this game on the map, there's a lot of dark areas and stuff like that. And this is where teams can't actually see. But where you can see on the map is where your champion is, a little circle around that where your minions are, and where you put a thing called wards. So as you can see from red team here, they don't have any wards down. So they can only see around where their champions are and roughly where they are. Now we switch to blue, they have things wards. If you look on the map here, you can see little logos and stuff like that. There's this little item here you can pick up from killing the Rift Scuttle. Like here, what we got focused on right now is a ward. And the ward lets you see everything around in that area. So what you want to do is you want to place these wards around. And the most important thing of it is you want to spot where the jungler is, or if another lane is roaming up to yours. Because what you've seen happen a lot in the mid lane here is because red team doesn't have any vision, the Yasuo or the Yi just walk behind the Ezreal who's pushing the tower, and unfortunately just kill him because he has no idea they're coming. So a big part of this game is vision. And we got another kill going down on the top lane most likely, and the Yi is probably going to clean this up, and no, he donates it over to his fine furry friend. And that is another double kill going down onto the Udyr. So a big part of what we're actually probably going to be focusing on during the games and during the tournament is actually just focusing on vision, because it is such an important thing. And actually, we get to see a Rift Herald live in action. So you see the turret is already down to 3 plates. So they're going to get so much value out of this thing. So look at her. Look at Shelly. Shelly! And you get 2 entire plates off of the Rift Herald smacking into it. Now, tried to take those turrets in another regard, it's extremely difficult. We got some more fights down in the bottom lane, but actually MF trading off pretty good, but it's probably just going to be another kill onto this Tristana. And actually, Slander, I think this leads us into a good point of why does this MF keep losing these fights? It's not maybe because they're playing bad. How does the snowball mechanic in this game work? What happens when you get kills?
The thing is, when you get kills, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, you get gold, and this gold allows you to buy items, and items, they make you stronger. So in the case of Tristana, you can see that she has this item called a Kraken Slayer, and that gives her a lot of damage. That's basically it. She can now deal a lot of damage in a short period of time, which is going to make her kill the Misfortune a lot faster.
Yeah, exactly. As simple as it sounds, when you have more items, you do more damage. And if you do more damage than your opponent, you kind of win the fight. So it's a little bit different than stuff like, say, FPS games and stuff like that, where it's sometimes an economy, but another dark binding. We're just not allowed to have points today. And it's Tristana slowly going, and she's probably just going to jump on top, or doesn't even need to with that auto range. But yeah, a big thing you're going to notice in League of Legends as opposed to maybe something like FPS or, oh, we got another tower dive
No.
here. No points allowed, only fight. And that's Yasuo picking up another kill and almost dying
Almost
to that
goes
turret. Oh no, we got the
More fighting.
Meteor going in. It is fights all across the lanes. It's an absolute bloodbath. This is reminding me of watching NALCS.
Honestly, I don't think NALCS.
I don't know. I don't think NALCS can
Never
compare to this, man. Like
No,
this
it
is these are
can't.
quality fights. Like these are quality fights.
And here we go again.
Oh, sorry. All right, we got to dive down onto the tower there.
And more bindings on the bot lane as well. Going back to the point of, I guess, kind of getting this gold there and buying. There are these items in the game called mythic items, and kind of on the UI at the bottom, you can see some of the items have this kind of gold box around them, and these mythic items they're kind of like this. They're strongest in the game. They give you a really strong. They give you really big stat booster. And a lot of teams or a lot of champions, you're going to be trying to get to the mythic item first.
Yeah, and that's kind of a thing you see in a lot of stuff like that. Like you want to build towards stuff. So actually there's big items called mythics, which you can see down on the bottom here, just like the cute little portraits around them. And they're actually your strongest items you can pick up in the current patch. But look, oh, misses a dark binding, but they might still try to commit to the turret dive here with the wave pushing up.
Take 2 third shot.
Now I think they're just going to wait it out here, going for the over the wall binding, but doesn't quite hit. Some good bobs and some weaves from the Ezreal here. But Yasuo's knocking down the tower and probably going to jump onto him if he does to tend to overstay here. And they're slowly just going to lock him down. And there's a big binding coming down onto the Ezreal. And that's another kill picked up onto the Yasuo.
Yeah, one thing to know is that maybe you noticed that the turrets, they didn't have the small tick marks anymore. And that's because at 14 minutes, which we are past, those... Yeah, past 14 minutes, those, what's it called? The turret platings, they fall off, which makes the towers a lot easier to kill. And we're just having fights all over the place. We're at 34 kills at 16 minutes already.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is unfortunately just 34 to 0. And actually, it's the thing we were talking about, like with gold leads and stuff like that. So you can see up at the top, just straight at the top of your screen, that there's the blue team's gold versus the red team's gold. So we were talking about that snowballing and stuff like that and how different teams get stronger. So you can just see blue team has nearly I think 20k gold lead, which
just under.
You don't even need to understand this game to understand it is a heck of a lot. So they are just snowballing ahead of them. They have tons of items, but actually back to the thing on mythics, you can see that all the players on blue have their mythic complete. The mythic items tend to be a little bit more expensive, but they have really strong bonuses and stuff like that. And there's actually usually multiple choices on a character. So throughout the tournament, I think you guys are going to see different options coming out from different teams. And you're going to see like, oh, we're going to talk about, oh, why did this guy build this or something like that? Because usually Yasuo, for example, who's built like a Mortal Shield Bow here, he also has options to go into more damaging items and even sometimes a Gale Force if he wants to create space and stuff like that. Yeah, but the Immortal Shield Bow gives him a lot more survivability because it gives you a big shield and a bunch of life steal, which makes all your attacks just heal on hit. So
and then also like the other 2 mythic items that we seen. First going to the Kraken Slayer, which this Master Yi and the Tristana has bought. So on that item, I believe it's on every 3rd auto attack, it gives you, like, it procs on every 3rd auto attack, which basically gives you more damage. And so this is the kind of the item that you would buy if you're an AD carry or someone who will get a lot of auto attacks off. It's just going to make you deal more damage.
Yeah, exactly. And like, actually, I think ADs are a great example of it because there's kind of 3 main items you're going to see from AD carries. You're going to see Kraken Slayer, Mortal Shield Bow, and Gale Force. And the 3 items give completely different options. So Kraken Slayer gives you a ton of damage on hit because as Slayer said earlier, every 3rd hit does a bit of extra damage. You're going to run into... Sorry, I walked away from my microphone real quick. When you go into Gale Force, it actually gives you a dash, which it sends out little sparks to do more damage. But what it does is usually AD carries don't have a lot of ways to get around. So this Gale Force gives you a dash to run away from people or play more safe. And then lastly, the item that actually Yasuo built is the Immortal Shield Bow. And what it does is it gives you a big shield when you hit a certain low health. So it makes you far more survivable to burst, which AD carries are usually a little bit more accustomed to not enjoying because of their low health bars.
Yeah, and you can just see some of the Kraken Slayer procs that Shisana has. There's the third auto attack, and that's a lot of damage. Oh
Yep,
wait,
and
the first death.
the first death, and as you can see, you don't want to dive this thing called an inhibitor. The turret literally just one-shots you, and it's not a good time.
I believe it's called a fountain, not an inhibitor.
A fountain. I'm sorry, I'm a boomer, guys. Alrighty. Well, and that is the game finished up there, and it is a Londonderry 2 taking it in honestly fairly dominating fashion. But I hope we were able to provide some insight and stuff like that to you, particularly the newer viewers in the chat who haven't watched this game before. For the next few games, we'll be like doing a little bit less basic stuff and breaking down item builds and stuff like that. But I thought it might be a nice primer for anybody, particularly because we couldn't focus on the match as much, to just like educate you guys and maybe hopefully make this a little bit more entertaining. And just so you know, you're not sitting there and going, yeah, go team, and you have a little bit of an idea what's going on. Because honestly, this game is fun to watch, but there's kind of an entry barrier on knowing what's going on.
Something to note is that all of the champions on Londonderry side, they are all attack damage champions, except for the Morgana, but she's not going to be your primary. She's not going to be your primary damage source. So if all of the champions who deal damage are dealing the same kind of damage, in this case attack damage, it can be really easy to counter that by just building armor in that case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope you all enjoyed for the first match. So we're going to quickly throw it to a break if that's fine with my producers. And we'll get back to you guys with the next match coming up. If I recall correctly, it'll be Kenilworth versus Bessie Nichols. And I hope to see you all there.